Hello again. Okay, picking up where we left off, we had kind of a sketch that we were working on. I had come up with an Eggbaby sketch for the character Abin Sur, who's a Green Lantern. Again, well known for dying in Green Lantern lore. What I've done here is I've grabbed a couple, I've grabbed a source image here for what Abin Sur would look like in film and cartoon versions. And kind of from this, I've grabbed a quick little palette of colors, and we're going to be using those in just a little bit. But the first thing that we're going to do before we start coloring anything in is what we need. We need to take our sketch and we need to refine it a little bit and make it nice and sharp. It's really important to create clear borders as to like where all of your colors are going to go. You need to, anytime you have a sketch, there's inherently a lot of things about your sketch that are going to be unrefined. So making sure that you know exactly where what the shapes are going to look like, making sure that you know exactly how the forms are going to look, where all of your colors are going to go, like that is the goal of the next part of this project. The other thing that's really important to understand kind of as an outset to all of this is that in Photoshop, anytime you have a layer, you can select that layer, right? So if I wanted to select my reference layer, I could just control and click on that layer, and you can see that I've got a selection tool, which means, of course, that I can draw whatever I want within that area, and if I turn that reference off, there we go, right? So each layer kind of also acts as a stencil. So one of the nice things about what we're going to do next is it sort of sets up where all of those stencils are going to go and allows us to work within them. So and by doing that, we get to keep our image looking a lot cleaner. All right, so how do we get started with all of this? Well, the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we're using a round brush. In this particular case, I'm going to use my AAA drawer on my brush tool presets, but this is basically just a round brush with a taper to it, and if I size it up here real good, you can sort of see how that brush will act. Okay, I'm going to reduce the size on it. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do, anytime I do line work, I don't really like to have the brush lose its opacity. That's called transfer, and if we go into our brush settings, we're going to turn the transfer off, and that taper is going to be really nice. It's going to be nice and opaque all the way to the ends. Now, when we're doing our line work, that's the first thing that we need to do. We need to take our sketch that we have, and we're going to turn down the opacity on it. And that'll sort of make it a bit like an onion skin so that we can sort of see what we're doing. And I'm just going to make a layer just above that. And again, I'm going to zoom in, right? Control plus or Control minus for your hotkeys. One of the reasons that we do these projects in such a large size is because it gives us the ability to zoom way in on our characters, and that gives us a lot of control, right? See, I don't want a brush that's this large. I want a brush that's a lot smaller, maybe 5 or 7 max. But if I zoom out, you can see that it might be a little bit difficult to see what I'm doing with all this. Right, getting that control is kind of difficult there. But if I zoom way in, look at that. Look at that control. Right, so we're just going to go over that sketch. What we don't want is we don't want gaps in our lines. We want a nice clean set of lines to work with. It's okay if there's a little overlap in the mouth, because that's how the mouth is. right? If you have like a really broad arc to do, you might just do a new layer. And again, if this isn't perfect, it's maybe okay, because you can always go into Edit, Transform, Warp, and we can match it up with the line exactly. One of the hard things about doing digital art and working on characters like these that have these long arcs is that sometimes it is kind of difficult to get your arcs to line up. But again, if you're using digital tools, you have all those digital advantages. You can even copy this, just Alt, click, Shift, and drag that down, right? So you just go over the entire image like this. And I'm going to get rid of these because I've already done it. All right, so here is my line work for my character. I can now turn my sketch layer off. All right, so again, what I've done here is I've just sort of defined exactly where all of my colors are going to go. And then what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start going into fill mode here. So I'm going to do another layer above it. I'm not going to change my brush at all because I do want my brush to be completely opaque for selection purposes. But here, the first thing that I would recommend doing is just doing a full fill on the body. So the character's mostly green. I'm going to select this green color that I've decided on earlier. I'm going to size this up. There's a number of ways that you can do your fills. Some people like using the pen tool and actually creating a vector. That can be really handy if you're doing an image that's very large. And it gives you a lot of precision. The downside to it is that it tends to be a little bit slow. You can also use this little selection tool here too, right? You could, if you were careful, draw on those lines. And you could do that as well. Seeing a few little straggler lines here on my line work, but that's all right. You can always go back and clean that up later. All right, so eventually what you're going to be doing here is you're going to fill in all of the background. And again, what that does is it basically turns this into a stencil. And then you can use your stencil to add additional colors within it. So if I wanted to do, for example, my head, I might choose this beautiful fuchsia color here. And then on a separate layer, I would do my head and my hands, like so. And I can either use my eraser tool on that layer to get that nice and sharp, or again, I could use this lasso tool, which kind of acts like an X-Acto knife. Okay. But as it turns out, I already have that done. I also have black parts to my figure completed, white parts to my figure completed, and a little power glow in my power ring. So ultimately, when your figure is complete, you know, they'll sort of look like this. Just fill this in just a little bit more. Very good. If you're wondering how I got this this glow. This is with a different brush. I just used the just an airbrush, and you know, all you need to do with that, you know, pick a color, pick the right color, have a layer for selection, and just draw within that layer. You get an effect similar to that. If I reselect it and add that in a little bit more, basically you end up with that sort of ring glow. All right, so that is my figure up to the line and fill stage, and then from there we're going to start putting in some of the finishing touches for this sort of warm-up project that we have together. And we'll stop there and pick up with our finishing touches next.